Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to my world of stocks. In today's video, I'm going to try to give you a quick recap on Super Micro stock and why it's crashing so hard right now, losing over 30% in a single day, and what I plan to do myself. And full disclosure, I do own a very tiny piece of this stock. We actually just recently added a very small amount to the community portfolio. It is laughably small though, so I don't really have like a horse in this race. I'm basically not really invested in this stock. I feel like I can give you a very unbiased take on everything going on and let you know what I plan to do myself if I want to buy on this dip or sit this one out or anything else. So hit that like button if you do enjoy this quick update on the stock, and if you want more frequent updates on other stocks, let me know by hitting that like button. But thank you for your support. Let's go ahead and jump straight into it. Now, what's going on here with Super Micro? Well, as you might already know, Super Micro stock, while being a very popular name in the AI space, has more recently faced a lot of controversy these past few months. In fact, just back in August, Hindenburg Research came out with a scathing short report on the company, accusing them of accounting malpractice, saying that Super Micro has been inflating their revenue numbers while also bypassing US export laws and allegedly sending technologies to Russia, while also having a potential conflict of interest doing business with two suppliers that are also owned by the CEO's family. So just a lot of like weird kind of shady stuff going on. But the biggest thing is really, in my opinion, the financial stuff. Are they lying about some of their financial numbers? That can always be a well, that can always be really bad when a company does that. It's fraud, obviously, and people can go to jail and companies can really be ruined by that type of activity. So it's a big deal. Now, I wish I could give you some deeper knowledge or insider information on all of these accusations, but obviously I don't have any access to that. I'm like nobody, right? I don't have any insider information on this stuff. So it's really hard to say where all of this will lead to, but at least for the moment, it's not a good sign for Super Micro as a company, and I think it will likely continue to weigh on the stock for some time until we get some clarity on all of this, which I just think is going to take a while. I don't think we're going to get any breaking news right away. I think this is going to take months and maybe even into next year until we get more clarity on exactly what's going on here and more stuff really comes out. But to be clear here, the company Super Micro has denied most of these claims, and it should be noted too that Hindenburg themselves are a known short seller of stocks, meaning that they find negative news about a company, they short the stock, and they release those negative reports, and that typically causes the stock to crash, and then they make a profit on it. So it's not the most ethical kind of practice that these companies do, but well, it could really be argued both ways. I think some people would argue that it's good for them to do this stuff because it brings things to light. But either way, I'm not going to get into the politics of that. So far, it is working very well for Hindenburg because Super Micro stock continues to crash. It's been really crashing ever since. Now, we'll take a look at that stock price in just a second here. We'll dig a little deeper into it. But I also just want to mention that while I normally wouldn't give a whole lot of credibility to a short seller like this, it should be noted that following these reports, well, it was also reported that the DOJ is now investigating allegedly into the company too. Not to mention that Super Micro themselves have even delayed their own financial reports, which only raise concerns even further. So it's just been, I would say, a total disaster these past few months for the company and everything surrounding them. Now, as bad as all of this sounds though, many investors have actually been buying the stock under the assumption that, maybe these are issues that can gradually be corrected over time. And thus we're just left with a very high growth AI company here that, unlike most others in the space, this one actually has a beaten down stock price with a dirt cheap valuation. Well, unfortunately, that low price has crashed even further today. I'm recording this on Wednesday, but Super Micro stock is down another more than 30% in a single day, leaving it also down over 50% in the past quarter and over 70% from the highs that they reached just earlier this year. So that's been a giant crash from the top. Now, mind you, the stock is actually still up over 3,000% from their IPO. Of course, that was like 17 years ago though, but most of these gains have actually happened just these past couple years. So most investors that have owned the stock for at least a couple or a few years are probably still up a lot. But again, that's not to take away from the giant crash that they are now experiencing. And so the question now is, what's causing the stock to crash even more today? And is it potentially a buying opportunity on the dip? Well, let's take a closer look at it. Now, this coming from CNBC, Ernst & Young, they usually refer to them as EY. They officially resigned from being Supermicro's financial auditor, saying that they can no longer rely on Supermicro's financial representations, citing major concerns about the company's governance and transparency, saying too that they can no longer meet their legal and professional obligations if they were to continue serving as Supermicro's auditors. Now, to put it more plainly here, they're basically saying that it can pretty much be assumed here that they found evidence that could question Supermicro's integrity and ethics and their honesty, are being honest with their numbers and all that kind of stuff. So they're stepping aside from being an auditor. They don't want to be involved with it. Now, how big of a deal is this? Well, it's pretty big. I mean, EY is a large and fairly well-respected financial firm. So for them to say this in such an aggressive way, like saying in the resignation letter, for example, that they are, quote, unwilling to be associated with the financial statements prepared by management, and basically saying the same thing about the CEO and other members of management too. I mean, saying stuff like that ends up causing a stock to crash by a giant amount, that can open the door, that can leave you open to lawsuits if you don't have credible evidence to back what you're saying, right? Because a lot of people are losing money with the stock crashing like this. So that can really leave you vulnerable. And I just don't think a very reputable financial firm like this would say these kind of things if they didn't have some credible evidence. And that wouldn't surprise me, to be honest, if they did have actual evidence of a lot of shady stuff going on with the company and the management team. Because we know that in the past, I mean, Supermicro even paid like an $18 million fine back in 2020 to the SEC for prematurely and improperly recording their revenues. So it's very possible that similar issues have actually been going on behind the scenes for some time, with some of this now just, starting to come to light, which, by the way, Supermicro has even hired a law firm and a forensic accounting firm to review much of this. So any lingering issues, I think, will start coming to light here soon in the coming months, I would say. And I guess on the positive side of things is hopefully a lot of these issues start getting addressed before they get any worse. Which, by the way, it's also being reported that EY, they're resigning, but it's also reported that they had conflicts with management for months. So I'm not really sure if maybe there wasn't some drama going on behind the scenes between EY and management, and maybe they weren't getting along, and maybe other stuff led to them resigning. But for now, it's all just kind of the sketchy situation where we don't really know how it's all going to play out. My guess is, as more dirt comes out, if management has been doing some shady practices, you're going to see some very big fees being paid just like before. And they'll probably need to hire, I would imagine, another auditor now to comply with all the rules, which, by the way, NASDAQ is even threatening to delist them if they don't comply in time with their delayed financial reports and make sure everything is following all the rules and everything is, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but making sure that everything is in compliance with how they report to the SEC and everything else. So anyway, it's all a very big deal, but what if, let's say, much of this slowly gets corrected, they pay some big fines, but it's not enough to sink the company, they can get through it, and business just kind of goes back to usual. At that point, I mean, you're still talking about an insanely cheap AI stock here with a lot of future potential. So I can't understand why some feel the urge to want to gamble on it here. In fact, I'm feeling a little bit of that urge myself too. After all, Supermicro does have a fast-growing and impressive business in AI, where they sell various components for computing servers, as well as the actual full-on servers themselves. And one of the reasons why they stand apart from much of the competition is because of how highly customizable their servers are, that can be tailored towards really any specific workload of various sizes and types, serving not just large corporations, but even small to medium-sized businesses too, which of course course, are all trying to speed up their adoption of AI and machine learning because of how much that can improve your efficiencies and help you offer more services and solutions to your customers. It can really just improve your overall business. So everyone is jumping on board of the, AI train and all that kind of stuff. And as a result, Supermicro's platform is often used in combination with NVIDIA GPUs, which they're even partnered with for NVIDIA's Omniverse platform too. But you also have other big names like AMD and Intel being major customers as well. And another standout feature about Supermicro often gets talked about is their liquid cooled technology alongside other innovations that help their servers be more powerful while still reducing heat and electricity, sometimes by as much as 90% depending on the rig. And that's a huge deal because it equates to more compute density, which companies need because they're all fighting to be number one in AI. So you want more power while being efficient, and that's what Supermicro can offer. And we see this high demand among businesses trying to get all in on this by just looking at hyperscale data centers, for example, that have continuously been growing by giant amounts every year as the adoption of AI continues to rise. As a result, Supermicro's products continue to be in really high demand, usually outpacing supply, and thus so too have their financials been soaring, with sales and profits more than doubling in size last year. And yet, because of the stock crash, the valuation is actually dirt cheap on virtually any metric you look at, with their PEG ratio in particular being 85% cheaper than the sector median. That's pretty crazy. Unfortunately though, I do just think that the stock will remain under heavy pressure for some time until we get more clarity on the current situation. And look, if it turns out that there's a ton of fraud being committed, the stock could very easily continue to drop, especially if it gets delisted, or even if the scandal gets so bad to where parts of management have to resign, maybe even people go to jail. I don't know. I'm just speculating. I'm not making any claims. I'm just, speculating, wondering what's going on. And depending on how bad things get, customers could even stop doing business with them. And if all of these things just kind of continue to snowball or spiral out of control, then we could also see analysts start downgrading the stock. I think even now you already have some analysts saying that they're going to stop covering the stock. So it's kind of scary. But look, with all of this said, going forward, what's the play here? What do I plan on doing myself with Supermicro stock with at least the limited information that I have available to me? Well, out of curiosity, I actually ran a poll today to see what you guys think about all of this, because I've been running through all these questions in my head, but I wanted to hear your guys' thoughts too. And while the poll has only been up for a few hours, we did manage to get close to 500 votes already, with 32% saying that the stock is a buy on the dip, 45% saying that it's a sell, and 24% saying that they're not sure or would just hold on to the stock for now. So about half of you would either buy or hold, and the other half would sell, completely stay away from the stock. And yeah, it's actually pretty similar to how I'm feeling about this one too. I'm honestly very torn on it because on one hand, I do just think that Supermicro is very important to the ongoing build out of AI infrastructure worldwide, that I kind of feel like I just have to buy in at these levels. Seeing a big name in AI, considering how much AI stocks have soared, but this one is as low as it is at this valuation, it feels like the type of stock that I got to buy at that price. And I know that it has a lot of issues, but I also don't think that the stock would have crashed or sunk this low if it didn't have major issues that need to be corrected. So you kind of have to balance out the risk with the reward in that sense. But on the other hand, I also feel like I really just need to back away and wait and see what happens with all of this, with all the investigations going on, because nobody really knows just how important all of this is going to turn out being until we get more clarity. Now, like I said before, we did actually buy a very small piece of this in the community portfolio, which was actually the result of a poll I ran asking you guys which new stock to add. But because the portfolio is on a $100 monthly budget and we just started it this year, I only purchased $15 worth of the stock, which is almost like nothing. You're probably laughing at how small of an amount that is. Obviously, my personal portfolio is way bigger than the community portfolio, but in the community one, we have just this very tiny amount. And even though the position is down about 26%, because it's so small, we're actually only down about $3 in total, which by the way, I get so much hate for owning a lot of different stocks in the portfolio and keeping it well diversified, but this is exactly why I do it, guys, because when one stock crashes, you have tons of other stocks to make up for it. In fact, take a look at some of these. So yes, my Super Micro is down $3, but SoFi is up almost 30, Palantir is up almost 25, NextEra up almost 7, Google up 21, Amazon 13, Nvidia 13, Tesla and Meta about 9 each, and more. So it can really help to diversify, and I just kind of want to drive that point home there. But look, anyway, I could just exit out of this position, take that $3 hit, take that $3 loss, but instead, I think I'm just going to double down here as a speculative gamble. I'll probably buy some tomorrow to lower the cost basis. And the reason why is because it's so tiny. I know it's laughably small. The rest of the portfolio is up a lot. Most of my portfolio, the community one, is a very safe portfolio, very safe stocks. So I feel like I can take a chance on this one. And even in the worst case scenario, what, I'm out like $30 max if it went to zero, absolute worst case scenario. Now, again, my personal portfolio is obviously much larger than the community one. And what would I plan to do there? Well, I was actually going to buy Super Micro stock for my personal private portfolio around the same time I got it in the community one, but I never got around to it. And I kind of just forgot about it. It tends to happen with me. I keep track of so many stocks. I do so many things. But I'm actually still willing to buy it now. I'm thinking about it. It is very tempting, but it would have to be with the acknowledgement that this is a very high risk, speculative kind of gamble play here. It's not a safe core investment, and it would have to be with money that I am willing to lose. So I would only buy for that reason, and because it's such a cheap AI stock that I think would shoot up a lot if things got better from here, if they corrected these issues. Maybe they pay some big fines, but not enough to sink the company and they can survive and get back on track. I think the stock would perform very well from there. And then even at that point, even because I have such a small position, I could always buy a lot more later on. So if I get more clarity and I see that the company is improving, I can always buy more later on. But because it's such a small position, if it happens to sink, I'll be fine losing that money too. So it may not be the answer that you guys wanted. Maybe you want me to be more decisive on this, but it really is a kind of wait and see type of situation because we just don't have all the facts. We just don't have all the information. I think that will come over time, but we're going to have to wait and see how all of this plays out. Anyway, those are my just kind of initial thoughts. If you'd like, I can make more update videos on this as the situation progresses. Let me know if you'd like that. But yeah, for now, I'd love to hear what you all think down below too. Do you own this stock? Are you thinking about buying in on this dip, or is it way too sketchy of a situation? You're backing away? I totally understand all viewpoints on this, but hey, thanks for stopping by, my friends. I wish you the best of luck with any decisions you make out there, and I will catch you in the next video. All right, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.